Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. For those of you who've been listening, and I hope I do have, I know I have some regular fans. Well, I won't say fans. Who the hell knows if you are enjoying yourselves or not? Hopefully you are if you're listening on a regular basis. But you know that I took a little bit of a break in July. So this recording is July 21st. I took a little 2-week break in July, but I'm recording it on the 4th of July. And I think it's important on Independence Day that we are going to be talking, or I'm going to be talking with strong women who help to empower women, because we sure as hell need that to keep promoting women, the strength of women in this country and everywhere. So I'm excited about my guests this week. And I love the idea. I usually like to say how I know people. We all get connected, and I think it's great that we're always open to meeting new people, and then you never know how they're going to show up in your life. I met Tina Gallagher through high school, actually, and now I'm her editor for her books. And she is the one who told me all about pole dance fitness. And I'm like, I don't know if I could ever try it. She has a pole in her garage, and I was like, holy crap. Like, you need some serious strength. And so I would need to work on that before I could do that. But Tina's been doing it. She loves it. If you listen to my episode a few weeks ago with Tina, she talked about how much she enjoys it. She's empowered by it. And if you watch out for her next series of romance novels, you will definitely see it play a role in her. It's influenced her. It will play a role in her books. But she told me about pole dance fitness. And then I went to a Halloween drag show and then an open house for the lovely ladies who own High Priestess Pole Dance Studio in downtown Scranton, newly opened, only open within, I'd say, about the past year. And my guests are two of the four owners today, and we're going to talk all about that. Jeanette Rozniak and Shyla Lintz. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely. As I said, Tina's the one that told me about pole dance fitness. Although I don't want to act like I've been living under a rock. Like, what? I mean, I of course had heard of pole dance, but I didn't really honestly know anybody who did it until Tina told me. And she actually met the both of you, I believe, at before you opened your studio. She met you at a studio in Scranton, and I do know how much she enjoyed it because she talked a lot about the class, how everyone was so supportive, and it was just a great network. And honestly, that led to her, being influenced for her next series, her novels, because of the great women that she met there. Let me ask you both, though, and Anjannette, if it's okay, we'll start with you. How did you get started in pole dance? And if I should be saying pole dance fitness, I don't know, because I know people get this notion of like women swinging on poles, and it kind of gets this bad rap. It's like, oh, let me get out my ones. It's like, all right, shut up. But it's about more, obviously. I mean, and again, my hat's off to strippers too. They work really hard, and they're doing something that's like, wow, that's difficult. But how did you get started in it, and how long have you been doing it?
At the time when I first found out about it, I was living in New York. I was doing theater out in New York, and I had a friend of mine, Gianna. If she ever listens to this podcast, I'll make sure she does. It's because of her that it started all of it, but she came back from a pole fitness. I call it pole fitness just because I'm lazy with words, and I try to do as like few amount of words as possible. And she had done a class, and she like was grinning like a fool from like ear to ear. She's like, it was like the best workout ever. I only did one class and I'm already like so sore, but it was so fun. Like, she could not stop talking about how much fun it was. And I was like, that sounds like something that I would want to do, because I hate working out. I don't have the self-motivation to do anything at home. I won't bring myself to the gym. If you want me to be your gym buddy, you have to like physically drag me there. And so I was looking at moving back home to the Scranton, PA area, and I looked up pole fitness in that area, and lo and behold, there was one like right in Scranton. I was like, how the hell have I never known this place existed? And that studio was where all four of us, the now owners of High Priestess, that's where we all met. And I had started at the previous studio back in 2015. And I think it was 2015. And then like within a year, like I got certified to teach. And it was a passion, it was an obsession. And then when the pandemic hit, it was like my world like stopped turning. And I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. And a lot of things had changed for me personally during the pandemic, well, for everyone. And I was like, I think that I'd want to have my own place instead of working at another studio. And that way I could like have like more like-minded individuals to help build this community to be even better than it already is. Like the pole community is like one of the most supportive and empowering communities I have ever met. And like it's dominated mostly by women, but like there's no cattiness or anything about, like there's no drama. I mean, I'm sure there is, but like not really that I've experienced. And it's amazing. That's why I keep going back for it.
Shyla, let me ask you the same question, like how you found out about it, what led you to get into it, and then to enter into the business with Anjannette and your two partners.
Yeah, so I graduated from college just 4 years ago in 2018. And all through college, all through high
She's
school.
so young.
Yes.
No. I'm just
Boo
a
hiss.
baby.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just a baby.
So when I graduated, throughout high school and college, I played water polo. So I started in middle school, high school, played through college, and that was the tightest community that I had ever had, was for a decade, was playing water polo. And then I graduated college and I moved up to Scranton area, and there weren't really pools around or teams. The closest masters team that I could get to would be in New York or Philly area. And really, I just kind of wanted something new with my life. You know, I had done that for 10 years and I was a little bit burned out from it. Kind of felt like I got everything out of it that I could at the time. So I'd moved up to Scranton and I didn't know anyone here. I didn't have a community. I started working and I would just go to work and come home and kind of just look for something else to do. Also at the same time, I was going through a breakup. I had just gotten cheated on by my college boyfriend. You know, I was just really sort of lost and looking for friends, family, community, anything that I could kind of find around here. And I remember looking on YouTube. I was just, going down the YouTube rabbit hole, watching video after video. And I saw something on BuzzFeed about a woman who's doing pole dancing. And she was talking about how more of the sport aspect of it rather than the sexiness or stripping or anything like that. And I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. I wonder if there's anything like that around me. And I searched, and I was living in downtown Scranton at the time. So it was just 5 minutes up the road to our old studio. So it kind of just felt like fate, like here I am looking for a new sport to do because I've been an athlete my whole life. So I wanted to keep active. I wanted a community that was mainly women because I worked in engineering and construction. So I was surrounded by men all day, every day. And I just wanted something that kind of felt like home. So I joined and I loved it pretty much immediately. Anjannette was one of my first instructors. I met Ashley and Francesca there as well, our other two owners. And I didn't really form as tight friendships with them right away as I have in the last couple of years, just because we weren't taking the same classes. We weren't as close in proximity to each other as we are now. But I did make great friends there, a community. It was really sort of everything I was looking for. And within 6 months or so, I was preparing for my first competition piece.
Oh, wow.
I was, moving up just because it felt so good to do. I was going every single day for 2 to 3 hours. I was trying to get as much out of it as I could just because it really gave me everything that I was looking for back to me. So I was there for a couple years, and then the pandemic hit, the studio closed, and I again felt sort of lost, again looking for something to to do at the end of the day to, you know, look forward to in my days other than just going to work and coming home. And at that point, Anjannette and I had become pretty close friends by that point. So when she had started talking about building her own studio, and I was looking for something new in my career, something to grow, and it just sounded great. Like, of course, yeah, I would want to build something and help expand this wonderful community that I've gained so much from. Of course, I would want to expand that to other people who are lost or looking for something. So yeah, I told her I was in, and we joined up with Ashley and Francesca and formed a plan, and then got certified to teach and been loving it ever since.
That's awesome. So Anjannette, I know you mentioned, and so did you, Shyla, about the pandemic. And we know, I don't think anyone needs to be told or reminded. We all know what it did, how it's affected. And everyone's been affected to varying degrees, right? Like, and I don't want to be ever dramatic, because it could have been worse. I didn't have anyone get sick or die. I didn't lose a job. So, but we've all had it impact our mental health. It's just added a layer of stress and being disconnected and all of that. And like, so you guys had this nice community. So when it happened, how did you, what were you doing to kind of stay connected? Like, were you doing fitness at home? Like, and were you trying to do anything online? How did you get through those times when things weren't really open so much?
I was trying to teach like online flexibility, because I have a pole at home, but like it's a very small apartment, and trying to do anything like that when you, like, if your students don't have poles at home, it's kind of, that is like a little bit hard. So the majority of the people that we had taught before, there weren't too many of like them that actually had poles at home. So I was like, I don't know how well that's going to go over, at least with like the flexibility classes. They could do them, like they could pretty much do everything at home. Like if they didn't have workout equipment, they could substitute other household objects to make it work. So I was doing that. And then I was also taking online courses from other people, whatever I could, whether it was like a flexibility course or whether it was like pole lessons or something like that. I was doing that as much as I could to try to keep up with it. And again, as I said before, like I'm not someone who self-motivates. I need that community in order to do anything. So doing everything at home by myself was, oh God, I was dragging my feet. It was like pulling my own teeth. I'm like, I can't do this. This is not the same. I don't get the same happiness and adrenaline boost and all that kind of stuff that I did when I actually went to a class. Because like now, or even back then, like when I was either teaching or taking a class, like I could be having like the shittiest day. And then when I go to the studio, everything is just immediately like all of my troubles are gone, because you just put everything, and like it's like a weird form of therapy, but in like a healthy kind of way, like not just treating you like your friend, like as your therapist. It's like a healthy way to get to work through some things and have like a catharsis and stuff like that. But when it's just you working at home alone in front of a computer, and like, you get audio issues and all that kind of stuff, and like the video cuts out and you're like, I hate it.
We all experience that for sure. Yeah. How did that impact like you actually getting open? Because I'm sure that, like, I don't know if it pushed things back from what you initially planned as far as getting your physical studio up and going.
I feel like I don't know, we ran into almost every obstacle you could when it came to opening up. Like it was us starting out and like all being on the same page of what we wanted to do was kind of serendipitous the way it fell into place. Like Tina is very much to blame, to thank, to whatever we want to do, because it was her house was like one of the catalysts, where we got Francesca and I ended up bringing on Ashley and Shyla, because within like a few days of each other, both Ashley and Shyla had like messaged me. They're like, I think I want to do this business thing that you were talking about. Like, I think that's something that I would want to do. And I was like, well, goddamn, these are very smart, very, very like knowledgeable women in their respective areas, and they know what the fuck they're doing. So I think they're very good people to get into bed with. And Francesca and I had already known like the instructing aspect of it, and Francesca's also very creative. So like that, when that all started, that part wasn't the issue. It was actually just trying to like get a physical location, get anyone to rent out to 4 women. Because along the way, we were just all of these mediocre men that we ran into that were like, they were the biggest obstacle, and just trying to get anything, like trying to rent a place, that was very difficult. And then once we found a place, trying to get up to code, as it were, was also very difficult, because we had to start from scratch, essentially. Like the building that we got into was not meant to be what it is, and we turned it into that. And that was a huge obstacle, just like learning that we are not masons, and that luckily we all had a lot of connections and a lot of people that helped us along the way, and a lot of support. But the pandemic, I think, really, they said that they wanted to help small businesses get back on their feet, and that wasn't quite the case. Not that we found anyway. It's like, if you want small businesses to thrive, you're not helping us out, man.
Yeah. So was it like more the red tape kind of stuff that got you guys held up, things like that?
Yeah. So to give you sort of a sense of the scale of this, we had met and we came up with our business plan in October of 2020. So by that December, January, we had formed our LLC. We were officially a business, had, everything that we needed to get set up. And it took a full year before we actually were able to open doors. So at first we found a place that we really liked, and we were in talks with contractors and the owners of the building. We had come up with a plan, and then 3 months later, they said, we don't know if we can approve this type of business for our building. So it was part of the stigma that's associated with pole dancing was kind of working against us, as well as people who seemed like they were on board and were working with us and then held us up. So after that happened and we had to start looking for a new place, at that point, we were already sort of scrambling because we had announced the business. We were saying, hey, we're going to open, we have a great location. And then it was, okay, wait a second, now we don't, give us more time. So a few months later, we found the place that we have now. And again, it took several months just to get a lease figured out. It took several months just to get the property manager to let us in the doors and see what was going on. We had to redo the entire floors. We had to order poles from overseas, paint everything, bring it up to code. It was just a lot of work to turn basically just an empty old office space into somewhere that's pleasant to be inside. So it wasn't so much that we were held up by like the city or rules, even though they did hold us up for a few months, getting inspections done. But it kind of just seemed like every single step of the way, something was causing it to take longer than it should have. So it really just sort of dragged out. But I do think that having all that time really was it, not so much for the business, but for our business owners. It gave us a lot of time to form the friendships that we have today, to come up with our business plan and, really think of how we wanted to teach with intention and be the sort of instructors and mentors to our students that we wanted to be. So it was unfortunate that we weren't able to open when we wanted to, just for nothing else, just because we were impatient and we wanted to teach and get out there.
Sure.
But, I think the time did allow us to sort of form the studio that we really wanted to make in the first place.
And you guys probably got even a stronger bond, which is great. To run a business is difficult. Before I go, I have a question for Anjannette, but Shyla, I like what you said. And if you want to just expound on it a little bit, to teach with intention. So what, I mean, I know, and we hear that a lot with a lot of different things because so many of us, and I'll say myself, definitely I'm one of the worst people for this. We just kind of sometimes go through our day doing things and almost like spinning like a top. So it's like to do things with intention. But so when you say it for your studio, so what does that mean to you?
So I think, and Anjannette might have sort of a different perspective on this, but for me, I really wanted to make sure that when I'm teaching a beginner class, that I'm making sure any student who comes in really gets value out of the class. And that's something that we all agreed on. We really wanted to make sure that every class they're learning multiple new things, that they'll be able to walk into class and come out of it with a new skill and feeling good about something, even if they, might not be able to physically achieve everything, because a lot of things just take time to build up strength, that there'll be, at least one thing that they can say, I learned that. And, then they'll hopefully be able to come back, and within a few months, they'll be able to see how far they've come. We even just in terms of like picking out the colors on the walls, we wanted to walk into the studio and feel like it was a completely separate place from the rest of the world. And between the colors we picked and sort of just the ambiance we've created, it's easy to feel like if you want to be feeling sexy, and we have that opportunity for you, or if you want to come and just be athletic and get a workout, that we can create that space. And when we were choosing which classes we wanted to offer, we wanted things that beginners could come to every single day of the week. And we do have opportunities for higher level students as well, but we wanted to make sure that the audience we were catering to was beginners and newcomers to the sport. We wanted to be very welcoming and really expand the community rather than just forming a place for people who are already acrobats and can go up and do everything.
Yeah.
We wanted to build our curriculums so that anyone that's new to the sport or new to the area can just walk in off the street and have an opportunity to do something that's really, really cool.
Now for you, Anjannette, would you say that's, as far as teaching with intention, anything that you would want to add that's from your own perspective, or do you think that is kind of similar to how you feel about it?
I mean, pretty much I ditto everything that Shyla was saying. It's kind of like you're actually present in the moment, and there's a reason behind why you're teaching what you're teaching. We're not just teaching it for the sake of like, oh, you want to do this? All right, well then whatever. Like, it's like we want people to be able to build everything from the foundation up. We don't want to just like throw them upside down and hope for the best, but like teach them all about like, you've got all these different muscles. Like learning pole is just like a toddler learning how to walk. There's like all these new motor skills that you are discovering, and a lot of people will struggle. They'll be like, you make it look so easy. And it's like, well, because I've had to practice it. And it's kind of like relearning all that kind of stuff. And like me personally, like I'll go and I'll tell all the students, like, do not give yourself a hard time for, finding something that looks so easy for me, as if it's like, I'll never be able to get there. It's just like, we all had to start somewhere. So just like relearning a lot of things, not just like physically, but also like mentally and emotionally. So we want, that's kind of like how I tackle every class. And I'm pretty sure we all do the same thing. It's just like, we all have to remind everyone, like, just give yourself some grace. Some people were students from like the other studio, and they wanted to take classes here. And it's like, they took 2 years off, and it's difficult for them because they're like, I used to be able to do all this stuff. And now it's like, it's almost like twofold as hard, because you're like, I know I'm capable of doing this, and why can't I get there? And then on the other side of that, you have like the people that are brand new off the street, and they're like, I just don't know how you make it look so easy. It's like, well, just give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
Realize that we all have to like start from the bottom. And now like look at like they're all lifers pretty much. So when they go every day, the consistency and the practice and the hours that they put in, they're going to be very graceful pole fitness ladies and people very, very quickly. Like you progress very quickly if you are determined and consistent enough with it. And so I think that's just like reminding people, be patient with yourself.
Yeah. Which is great advice for whether it's pole or any sport or anything in life, honestly, because I think, especially as women, I think we beat ourselves up too much, like way the hell too much. So like you said, reminding them like, okay, you're not supposed to be climbing up the pole right away. Like it's building blocks, and be patient with yourself, because obviously if you're not, you feel bad about yourself, then you have a negative loop in your head, or you might not come back. So it's great that you are working to be like, remind people to be kind to themselves so that they will come back, and then they'll see their progress and everything like that. I just wanted to ask you, Anjannette, and I think Shyla brought up the point. Did it surprise you that someone actually, because I'm surprised, I guess I shouldn't be in this day and age, that your business wasn't right for their building? And I'm not asking you to like name or whatever, but like in this day and age, that was actually a thing, like that you were like, oh, sorry, we can't have your business in here. Like, I'm surprised to hear that. I mean, I can imagine it was disappointing, but was that surprising that was an obstacle?
It actually was not surprising. Unfortunately, for like the area, like there are certain parts of Scranton are very, quote, up and coming. Like they're progressive. They are with the times. But like I was saying, there are a lot of people that we encountered that are stuck in their ways, as it were. Like they kind of had these like archaic thoughts in their head as to what we were doing. Like they hear that we're pole fitness, they want to open up a pole fitness studio, and they automatically think either nightclub or strip club. So they're like, the noise that you're going to be producing is going to be crazy out of this world. Like we can't have that. Like we're going to have, apartments above, like we can't do that. And it's just like think like yoga studio level of noise. Like that's what it is. Like we're not going to be raising the roof, we're not going to be up all hours of the night or anything like that. It's just like, think of us as like a yoga studio, but like just in the evenings. Like, that it was unfortunately it wasn't, for me anyway, it wasn't really surprising what we came up against. And it was just like, but that's something that we deal with honestly every day, pretty much, of like people that like, because we're right on the main stretch of road in downtown Scranton. So we get a lot of people that will gawk at our sign, they'll gawk at the shoes that we have in the window. And that there are a lot of people that do have that same mindset of like, oh, we got a strip club right in downtown Scranton. And and unfortunately we are right next to a cigar shop that has been around for 20 years. And some of the patrons are,
Sexist.
less.
We know, we can get the picture there. I'm sorry that you have to deal with that sucks, but it just goes to show like how you're so passionate about what you do. You're pushing through to fight these like stigmas and these things, that these preconceived notions, wrong notions that people still have, or like you said, the people that are stuck in the old ways and things like that, and who probably, some of them probably aren't even open to trying to figure out what it is, or what I mean, which is unfortunate. So we'll take the ones who have an opening that we can talk to, right? And to try to change their minds. So Shyla, how do you, and I turned 50 in September. So I'm like, you're young. I mean, you're probably less, get less of a grump than I am, and you have probably more hope. So I don't want to say assume that you do because you're younger, but like, so for you, I'm sure maybe you're not from the area, but maybe it's still disappointed you, or you're surprised by these stigmas and the things that you have to fight, but maybe because you're younger, you might be more hopeful. So how do you help explain it to people or remove that stigma or that like misconception? Like, no, it's not what you think it is. It's all these other wonderful things.
Yeah, so I actually sort of had to deal with this from when I very first started, and I was telling my parents about it, and they were sort of shocked and like, are you sure? What are you doing? And I've always been independent enough that they knew that they couldn't just say, like, tell me not to or direct me in another way. And there's sort of a level of trust that you know what you're getting yourself into. I actually remember my mom telling me when I first started, she was like, okay, as long as you're doing it for fun and not, making money off of it, hoping that I won't become a stripper. And so there's sort of the levels of acceptance of first is, okay, it's just a sport. Then it's, even if it was stripping, they're still doing, super athletic moves, and it's still harder than it looks and worth doing and everything. And then there's sort of the higher mindset of stripping is okay, and it's still a profession that people do. They deserve respect just like all sex workers do. And that's sort of a higher level that we try to preach whenever we talk about it in class. We have on our website that, in some of our FAQs, it's, I don't feel sexy enough for this, or is this just for stripping? Like, is this stripping practice or something? And we say very clearly, like, no, it's not. You can do it for whatever reasons you would like to do. If you want to feel sexy and good in your body, great. It can absolutely help with that. Or if you just want to do it for the pure athleticism of it, great. We will foster that as well. And we're not going to push you to be something that you don't want to be. If you want to explore other sides of yourself, we'll help get you there. But if you want to just come in and work out and do some cool tricks, great. So I think it's definitely tough in this area, but with me being more vocal about it, especially after the studio opened, and now that I'm, posting tricks that we're doing or events at the studio, reaching out back to my high school friends about it and expanding their world to it. I have friends from high school that I'm still close with, and I tell them about everything we do, and then they look up studios in their area. It's, they have a little bit more opportunities if they're in New York or Philly or a bigger city like that. But I mean, I came to Scranton and there's opportunity here. So it's definitely expanding and is in more places than just the big, super progressive cities.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, that we have that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's once you learn more about it, then you can look up videos of people doing national competitions. And I still remember the first video I ever watched was Ashley Fox's 2019 routine that she won. And it was just like, I remember the tricks that she did, and it was just so incredible. And then I remember when I was telling my family about it, and not just my parents, but expanding it to the older, more conservative folks in the family, telling my grandma about it, that sort of trying to bridge that sort of generational gap of they've had this idea of what it is for so long. And luckily they were open to learning about it, but I could just show them that video, and all of a sudden the switch just kind of flips in their head of, no one's taking their clothes off. Everyone is wearing the same amount of clothes that I did when I played water polo. It's the same sort of outfit of just, you need your arms and legs open, ready to, do all the physicality of it. So just being able to physically show them a video of, this is what I want to learn to do one day. This is what I'm working towards. This is what I'm practicing for, kind of opens up the door to, okay, this world is a lot bigger than I had originally thought it was. And there's nothing negative about it, which I think it's, you have to reach people who are open to learning that and realizing that. But once you do, there are so many ways to sort of show everything that pole dance can be.
And visuals are great. I mean, you can't, like, it's a lot of times explaining things are lost in translation. When you see, the athleticism or see the, the competition side of it, I'm sure that definitely helps people understand what it is. Right. And again, it's all preconceived notions or unfortunate stigmas that have been attached. Although look at, firefighters use a pole, but they're thought of as heroes. Right.
And so are we, God damn it.
Yes.
So are we.
Yeah. So Anjannette, let me ask you, And Shyla had mentioned whether you're there for athleticism or the sexiness. What would you tell someone? Because there is also, I know Tina talked a little bit about this, you go in there, maybe you're not going in there to look for that aspect, right? Like, oh, I want to do sexy moves. But you could tap into that into yourself that maybe you were never open to before. And now you start doing these moves and yes, you're strong, but you're also sexy. And you see that. What do you like? What's your philosophy on that? Or how do you talk to someone who's just maybe shy and they really don't, they just want to try it, but then they're able to not just get a workout, but feel empowered and feel sexy too?
I think like for me personally, it's very like I always say that pole is whatever you want it to be. Like you can do it for fitness, you can do it for to compete, you can do it because you want to feel sexy, you can do it for the storytelling aspect of it, which is like what I realized was kind of like my little niche, how I don't know how to pronounce that word. When it comes to like doing a performance was that I liked the storytelling aspect of it. And that's kind of like a cross between all of those things. Like you can take the athleticism of it, you can take the sexiness of it, or you can just tell a story. It is whatever you want it to be. And that was like, I think one of the hardest things that I had to come to grips with was like, for my entire life, I always struggled with like feeling sexy. I still do to this day. And pole has kind of helped me realize that like, maybe I don't need to feel sexy. Like I can realize that I am sexy, but I don't need to like show it in these moves or show it in what I'm doing or whatever. I could feel sexy and not have to be like, I don't know. I'm not really good at articulating it, but like it's helped me. It is helping me realize what I want out of myself and what I want to show others. And I want pole to do that for everyone. So if you come in feeling like a little bit shy, it's just like literally try anything, try any of it on for size and see what it's going to do for you, because it will, like whatever you put into pole will return like 100-fold. So if you put in the time, literally just the time, and you'll reap the rewards nonstop. I guarantee it, but you just have to try it. Like you won't know until you try. And then you, as like, the more and more you try it, the more you realize, oh, I think I like the way it makes me feel. I like the way it makes me feel strong. I like the way it makes me feel sexy. I like the way it makes me feel like I have something more to give to the world than just my body or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of women think that the only value that they hold is in their body. And that's why we have like these, the stigmas of like, you gotta be petite in order to be sexy. Like you can't do this in order to be sexy and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like pole just literally transcends that. And I feel like that helps a lot of people on the journey to self-love. I don't know if that sounded really corny, but like
no. In fact, Tina, I know I mentioned earlier, Tina Gallagher, who is a friend of yours. She's a client, and she's actually doing her next series inspired by people she's met. But she mentioned that she's never afraid to say, I'm a bigger girl. Like she said, she was an athlete most of her life, but she said it helped her see herself, like her body, and realize that it was powerful. So it's not just the size of it, but like the strength. I think she talked about that it made her feel like strong and really appreciate the power she had in her body. So it's anything that can help people bring about more respect for themselves and their own body, and realizing what a gift it is. And for what, like you said, whether it's for sexiness, whether it's for strength, whatever, just helping them tap into that. And I think one of the things Tina mentioned, and I think that's what's so important, is that she said, you guys are so supportive and like non-judgmental, and that environment is what really helped her, and I would think helps other women, because you don't want to be in a place where you're feeling judged, no matter what your size is or how you look when you're doing certain moves. And I think that's got to be really important. Was that your experience when you guys tried it, that you did feel comfort within the community of the people that taught and the people who were there taking it alongside of you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am like 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. I'm a big woman. And I have been my entire life. I remember in the elementary school BMI test, like I was always classified in the obese just because I was a bigger kid. And, looking back, I was never plus sized, or, I didn't look like I was, a fat person, so to speak, but I felt like that just because I was bigger than everyone else around me. And that was, through being an athlete my whole life, it was, my body it's good that I'm big because it gives me an advantage against the teams that I'm competing against. It's, I can lift more in the weight room, and all of that was due to my body. So my relationship with myself was, my body is a tool to get me to swim faster or be stronger, or, whatever I'm asking from it. It was really just, that was the only relationship that I had. I never really considered feeling sexy or exploring that side of myself until I found Pole Studio. It just wasn't really on my radar. And some of that was just due to how much of my life was consumed by water polo up until then. But I had to sort of just relearn everything about how to move my body and how to feel good in it when I'm not just competing, or when I'm not playing against someone, or, it was really for myself rather than for a team or for the sport. So that was really the biggest change that I recognized in myself. Was it wasn't even the goal when I first started. It was, I started pole dancing and just learning the movements, and then realizing, like, looking in the mirror as I was dancing, like, oh, like, I might not look as good as someone else, but I'm not here to compare myself either. My entire life when I was playing sports, it was always, you need to be good so that you can be better than other teams. Now it was just, you're doing it for yourself. And if you feel good in it, then that's what makes it sexy, if you want it to be. It was learning the confidence of just, however I move my body, if I feel good doing it, then it's going to look good. And that's going to translate, if I'm performing or competing, it's going to translate to the audience and to the judges, and they're going to see that confidence shining through, which, I know that that's sort of it's sort of an easy fallback to be like, oh, being sexy is just being confident, and I think that when people who don't have that confidence hear that, then it's really difficult for them to imagine ever feeling good about themselves like that. So it was really interesting at the time when I was just a student learning pole dancing, that it's not something that you work to build. It just sort of naturally comes along as you get more comfortable, and you can see the progress of, today I climbed a pole for the first time, or today I did an invert for the first time, and just allowing yourself to have pride of what you're doing and what your body's capable of. That opens up so many more doors of really just genuinely feeling good in your body, which I know I hadn't before pole dance. It wasn't even something that was on my radar, of being able to feel good. That just wasn't something that I ever prioritized. And now that I do, I couldn't imagine giving that up.
That's great. And what you made a really good point. And this is something I think, again, women do more than men, but like the comparison angle, like we have to get rid of that. Cause I forget who said it, but comparison is the thief of joy. Cause once we start like, well, look how sexy she looks, or look how effortless it looks for her. We have to take that out of the equation, like completely, absolutely take it out. So that, and I love what you said too, about like certain things weren't even a goal, but they came about because it's just that wonderful of an experience. And then things happen that, you didn't expect, but they're great. And now you feel great about them. So that's really cool. Anjannette, let me ask you, where, as we start to wrap up here, where do you see, like, you guys aren't quite open a year, right? It's going to be, it's been what, maybe 8 months, 7 months. How long are you guys open?
Math is hard.
Not quite a year anyway.
No, like we officially opened in February.
Okay.
So like that's when we were actually able to have classes.
You started with classes.
Like
yeah.
We did our soft grand opening for Halloween. That's when we had like the fundraiser and everything.
Yeah, that was the drag show. I remember being that, and that was so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're open with classes since February. So as you, well, you're only maybe halfway through, but as you see what's ahead, now that you've gotten hopefully through most of the big hurdles, I mean, you're open, which is great. You're operational, you've got classes going on. What do you see? What's the next big thing that you guys see, or what's the next, just getting the word out and getting more folks to come and try it? What do you think is next for you guys there at the studio?
I mean, I think like because we have pretty much like monthly staff meetings to go over all the things that we want to do like month to month. And we've kind of got like a groove going of like a little formula of what works and what doesn't and everything like that. And we learn even more of like, hey, this was really popular last time, this worked really well. And with each month, it just keeps getting better and better. And we draw more and more people in, and we have more opportunities because we're right in downtown to do things like First Friday. So that's, especially like with the warmer months, like First Friday is definitely something that has been very good for us. Because we get all of that foot traffic in, and we get people coming in and they're like, what is this? We have this right downtown. Because like, even though we are like, we're putting ourselves out there, there are still some people that they just don't know, because they might not look for it. They might not even know that it's a thing. So that's why we like having the physical location that's very easy to get to. We try to have like as much of an online presence as possible on like all of the different social medias. And I think it's just continuing to do more of the same and looking forward to like big events that we can do. Like we definitely want to have like another Halloween bash, and definitely probably very much looking forward to doing like, hey, we've been open for 1 year. Like let's do something big, and like doing like another a showcase. Like we have our showcase coming up at the end of July. This is our first showcase, our first studio and instructor showcase. So doing things like that to try and draw more and more people in. And we have an opportunity with our showcase that we're going to be having a professional video crew come in and record the performance. And so we'll be using that for promotions and for people to actually like purchase, and so they can see, hey, this is what we're all about. Like we've got all the things. And not only do we have the community, but we've got like the quality behind it too.
That's great. So what is the date of your showcase?
July 30th. Doors open at 6:30 /6 or 6:30, and the show actually starts at 7.
Okay. And is this a show, and excuse me, I'm not trivializing it, but like if it was a dance studio, like a recital kind of thing, is it like your students showing off their skills, that kind of thing? Or
we did allow the students, if they wanted to do a solo, they could do a solo. And then we also have like group routines as well. So there's going to be our student group routine. The 4 instructors are going to have their own group routine, and then some individual solo routines sparkled in between. Like Shyla and I both have solos that we're doing. She's actually helping me with my routine. And then we have a couple students that are doing solos as well.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. And that's a great way for people, because obviously it's open to the public for people to come and check it out. So Correct. They can see what it's all about. And if they're not ready to try it, they can at least appreciate and understand what it is that you're doing there. Yeah. Shyla, so what would you say that like I said, as we start wrapping up, anything else that you wanted to add, or anything that you would hope as you're looking ahead, now that you've gotten, at least, you're open, so certain things are out of the way, certain hassles, obviously, and I understand as an entrepreneur, it's hard. It's never like easy, and it's going to continue to be, especially when you do something different. I mean, I left my day job 10 years ago, and I do laughter yoga, and people still don't quite understand what that means. They get the yoga mat out, and it's like, do you laugh at me while I do downward dog? I'm like, oh dear God, no, that's horrible. I had people say that. I'm like, that's incredibly mean. Of course not. And so I'm still working on the education. So don't give up is my point. But what do you see as the next important thing, or the next thing that you'll hope for the business, or for the whole, the genre of pole fitness?
Absolutely. So I think in terms of our studio, it will just be, bringing more students in. And we have already a great community of regular students who come in, and then we have ones who have just recently started and have tried a few classes and have really enjoyed it. But I think, as long as students keep spreading the word and are able to be open about it, which I think is a big hurdle for a lot of people. They may come and really enjoy it, but feel uncomfortable talking about it to their friends or their coworkers. I know that I did when I first started. Like I said, I was working with a bunch of men, and there were maybe 4 women in my office at the time, and I just didn't really feel comfortable showing that side of myself to my coworkers. And my only friends at the time were people from the studio. So it was tough for me to really share what I was doing and bring people in with it. And I think that, that's probably a hurdle that a lot of people have. It's tough enough to get yourself to, come in and take that step. And then once you enjoy it, it's even harder to, tell other people that you've taken that step and you've started opening up and showing that side of yourself. So I think, as more people join, we're hoping that the stigma will go down, and that, especially today, I feel like people are becoming more and more brave and open about who they are and what they enjoy, and the different sides of themselves. So I'm hoping that that'll translate to people being more open about, I do pole dance and it's really fun. And whether it's for, sexy reasons or sporty reasons or whatever you're here for, that it's something that's worth sharing with other people. I think that, just getting people to understand that our community only grows if we help it grow. And anyone that comes in and enjoys it and feels that community, I think appreciates it. So the next step is really going to be helping to grow that and sharing it with the people we love, and then eventually sharing it with the people that we don't, and, being brave enough to share it with people who are going to judge you or going to call you derogatory names or anything like that, that we've had practice, unfortunately, dealing with as business owners. And it's definitely hard. It's not something for the faint of heart. It's definitely tough when you can see something that you've put months of blood, sweat, and tears into, and then someone just comes and writes you off immediately. That's a really tricky thing to do. But, hopefully as the world keeps changing and hopefully becomes more accepting, that it'll be something that we can, show that it's okay to help grow this community. And it's not something that, everyone's going to accept, but the people who do accept it are the people that we want in our community anyway.
Yeah, that's well said. And I love what you said about the people who come to it and maybe they're not ready to share and tell people about it, but let it be for you first, right? Obviously get the people in there and let it be for them. They, and then when they're ready, they share it, and then it will grow. As you said, it will grow naturally, I think. And then, people will understand it better. Anjanatte, anything that you would like to, I will definitely share with people to check you guys out on Facebook, right? And Instagram, High Priestess Studio. It's in downtown Scranton. It's on Spruce Street, I believe, right? As you approach Wyoming Avenue. So it's an iconic spot right around the corner from the historic Ritz Theater, and just around the corner where Note is closing, Notology, they're moving, but they were on the corner. Most people know that location. Anything else that you would want that we didn't touch upon, anything you'd want people to know, or anything you'd want to share, anything at all in closing that we just didn't cover that you wanted to make sure you said?
Only one small thing. It is now Biden Street.
You're right. Yes.
It's only because we've had one of the tough things that you don't realize is trying to put yourself, pin it on the map in Google Maps and Apple Maps. And because they switched it to Biden Street, it's trying to get directions to us. If you actually type in our address, 409 Biden Street, it will take you to Linden Street, which is it's the parallel street to us. But if you actually type in High Priestess Pole Studio, it'll bring you to us. So that's the only thing, because I think most of the maps now are starting to update where if you put in Spruce Street, it might automatically update to Biden, but it might not. That's just a minor technicality, but
not minor, because we need them to find you. So that's
yes.
and honestly, as for small business owners and entrepreneurs to understand, it's little stuff like that, quote unquote, little, that can get you hung up, because if people today, a lot of times, if it takes them too much effort, forget it. Right. So it's like, that's an important point. Biden Street. Okay. Now I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It is like, because we've had a few people that are like, they'll call us and they're like, it's taking me to Linden Street. And it's like, no, just go to the next street over. Like, but it is, like you said, the tiny things that end up being like the biggest holdups for some people. But like, all I ask is that like people just give us a shot. Like, literally, you won't know until you try. And I guarantee, I tell everyone that comes in, when they've come in for like First Fridays and stuff like that, or open houses, it's just like, literally, just try it. Try one class, bring a friend, come by yourself, whatever. Just get your butt in there, because that's really the only way you're going to know. And that's like a life lesson too. You won't know until you try. And then I add on top of that, like, you won't know until you try it twice, because the first time could have been a fluke. So try it 2 times, 3 times for like max. And then if you don't like it after the 3rd time, then I maybe try a 4th, and then might as well just do like the whole week. Try the 5, like we have like for $55. You can take
Suddenly I'm watching an infomercial. And if you don't like it after a week, just give it a month. Come on, just give it a month.
Give it a month. Give it a year. I just sign
commitment. That's it.
But honestly, like all joking aside, you won't like. Just give it a shot. Literally throw all your inhibitions out the door. And I think just taking a chance on learning to like learn more about yourself and what your body is capable of, not just in a sexy aspect or a strong aspect or whatever, but just literally what your body can do, and learning how you can express yourself and learn about yourself through pole, which I think is a very open and accepting way to do it. And it's very hard to try to learn about yourself in more constricting areas of life, where like it is kind of cut and dry. This is how it is, blah, 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 blah. The pole like is so open to interpretation. You can do with so much with it. And I think that's why like you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't want to try. Like, don't no excuses. Don't be like, I got to be strong in order to go, or I got to be sexy in order to go. I just need to lose the last 5 pounds in order to go. Like, that is not the case. Go as you are right now, because then you'll learn to love who you are.
That's a great place to end. And I mean, like you said, to try it, but like, even if they just come to the showcase first to see what it's about, stop in on a First Friday. I mean, I think for some people, and again, everyone's at a different place, for some people, just showing up is the first
yes.
big, like, and I know this as someone who's, I do stand-up comedy, and I say, I don't know if I was an extroverted introvert or an introverted extrovert, because there are times just to go places I do not want to go, like socialize and just get there. So just get to your place. Biden spruce.
Biden
spruce. Biden spruce. Try the Biden spruce. Oh, that sounds like a martini I'd like. Just get to your place, walk in, and just be there, and then take it from there. Like, sometimes it's just that first step, and then try the class, and then of course sign up for life, like we said. So that's pretty much it.
For life. Like, you're a lifer after that. Like, you can't just dip your toes and be like, no, it's too cool, I don't like it. Like, I guarantee that you will like it. You're going to find some aspect of pole that you are going to love. If it's not the community, like, some people stay for the community, they're like, and then they learn to love everything else, and people stay for like the athleticism, everything. There is a reason for everyone to go and to love.
Yeah. That's
so
great.
says I.
So says Anjannette. That's right. Well, thank you, Anjannette and Shyla. I wanted to say Lila because I'm looking at your last name. I'm sorry. Although Lila's a lovely name too. Shyla and Anjannette, thank you so much for joining me. And again, for the listeners, I will put the info in about High Priestess Studio, downtown Scranton. Again, just check it out, try it, and you will feel welcome and supported there, and just give it a try and see how you feel. And hopefully you will go back and just fall in love. So thank you again for joining me. And for my listeners, I appreciate you. As always, I say, from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a